Okay, morning everyone, and a very happy new year. It's now 2020, it's the 1st of January 2020. What I'm going to do today is, one of my subscribers, he asked me to do a comparison between the E-flite M7 MAULE and the FMS PA18 Super Cub. So what I'm going to quickly do today is just go through my opinion of the two planes and which I feel is the better value plane for the money. Okay, so first things, what I want to talk about was how easy the planes are to put together. Well, they're both very similar actually. The FMS being just slightly easier. They're very similar. They've both got 2 screws on each wing, okay, and 4 screws on the tail. The one downside really are, and I'll show pictures, the wing connections on the FMS are just a simple connector block. You slide the wing together and bang, your connections are done. On the E-flite, you've got the servo cables which you've got to push together, and then as you're sliding the wing up to the fuselage, you've got to try and push the wings into a little recess, and it's very, very fiddly. We had to do it the other morning and it was dark and it was quite a job. So yeah, but very, very similar builds. Out the box, fantastic, excellent quality, no hanger rash. Both planes were as good as perfect. Regarding the quality and the finish of the planes, I think the M7 MAULE comes out on top there. I love the MAULE, I love the scale looks, the glazed cockpit, scale pilot, and the paint scheme as well. The FMS is lovely, and what's good is they're both styled on real planes, and if you search online for the MAULE, for the PA18 Super Cub, you can actually see photographs of what these planes are based on. Okay, obviously if you're going to compare planes, then it's very important to talk about the way those planes fly. I flew the M7 MAULE a couple of days ago, and within one battery, the maiden flight, it felt like I'd been flying the plane for a long time. It was very, very steady, very forgiving. Obviously, it was fitted with SAFE and AS3X stability system, which really does help. It sort of like balances out any sort of like turbulence or wind. For me personally, the Super Cub is just fitted with a bog standard 6-channel receiver, so there's no stability or anything like that at all. When we talk about general flight, taking off, the M7 MAULE was just a dream. It was literally, especially on SAFE, it was just point the plane, accelerate, and up she went, lovely and stable, wings level. And when I then flew it on AS3X, it felt very similar, very stable, very easy to take off. With flaps, it took off in a very short distance. With the Super Cub, obviously because it hasn't got any of that stability, you could choose to put a gyro or that sort of receiver in there, but I've just gone for a standalone receiver. So yeah, it does take off very nice. it's a little bit more torquey, and it does tend to want to pull just slightly over to the left, so you know you need to be aware that the Super Cub is going to do that. Okay, when the planes are in flight, they are both very, very stable and forgiving. I would say the M7 MAULE possibly a little bit more forgiving than the Super Cub. The Super Cub is a big plane, so if there's any wind, it does tend to act a little bit like a sail, and you can feel any slight breeze or gust. So yeah, the Super Cub definitely takes a little bit more flying. And obviously, if you've taken off and you've flown, at some point you've got to come down. And landing the M7 MAULE again was just a dream. The first maiden flight, I took off and landed with safe on, and I just lowered the throttle. The plane was perfectly balanced, and I can only, you know, what we call a lovely landing in this game is a greaser, and that's what my first landing was like. On subsequent batteries then, just flying on AS3X, it was still very, very nice to land. A bit difficult because it's quite dark and I can't really see the plane that well, so I'm relying on the lights. Lovely. With the Super Cub, yeah, it is nice to land. You can actually come off the power with the Super Cub and let it glide dead stick into a landing, and you know it is a nice plane to land. But again, you know, with no stability built in, everything this plane does is what I'm telling it to, and it is just a little bit more of a challenge when you compare it to the MAULE with the AS3X and the Safe. Obviously with landing, what's important is the landing gear. They've both got fantastic landing gear equipped with Tundra style tyres. I would say that my personal favourite of the two sets of landing gear is the Super Cub, because it's very robust and it's sprung, and it just literally soaks up anything that the ground can throw at it. So yeah, in that respect they're both very similar. Okay, obviously doing a comparison, we need to talk about price, and I'm very lucky in that the E-flite MAULE was bought for me. My partner bought it for me for Christmas, and I did a bit of snooping, and I know that she actually paid £260, which was for a bind and fly basic. So it does come with the receiver, obviously with Safe Select. So yeah, I think £260 is on par for most E-flite planes. That tends to be for the bind and fly basic, you know, where they're priced. The FMS Super Cub, I paid £206. Obviously that was what they class as almost ready to fly. Didn't come with a receiver. I fitted the Spectrum, originally antennaless receiver, but I've changed that now and I've got a Spectrum 6-channel receiver with antennas. So value for money, yeah, you know, it's as broad as it's long. you pay your money and you take your choice. They're both really good value, and they're both really good planes. Okay, yeah, just one thing that I wanted to mention as well. When you consider buying these planes, one thing you need to take into account is the sheer size of the FMS PA-18 Super Cub. As you can see, you know, it's got a 1.7 meter wingspan. The flite MAULE is 1.5 meter. So you know it is quite a big plane. So yeah, something that you know people need to consider. As I said, this is very easy to put together, so it doesn't take long to take the wings off to put it into most cars. Unfortunately with the MAULE it's not quite that easy. Yeah, so that was just a quick comparison of the two planes. You know, the two planes are, although they're sort of like high wing Tundra style planes, they are completely different. If we were talking about looks, my favourite would be the M7 MAULE. I mean, for me, you can't beat the paint job and you can't beat the scale looks. For setting up at the field, then that would go to the FMS PA-18 Super Cub. Literally, you know, you just slide the wing on, into the block goes into the connector, 2 screws, a screw in the wing strut, and you're ready to go. Unfortunately, the MAULE was a lot more fiddly and took a lot longer to prepare and get ready. So yeah, generally my vote would go to the FMS PA-18 Super Cub. I'm lucky I've got both, but if I was going to spend that money purely because of the way this assembles, I would go for the Cub. Saying that, if you've got less experience, I would say the MAULE would be a better buy because it comes equipped with the safe. You know, the safe is a brilliant tool for learning to fly. It can really keep you out of any problems, and when you're progressing then and you're starting to think about flying a little bit more quicker, throwing the through maneuvers in, if you get into any difficulty, at the flick of a switch the plane will balance itself out and fly straight and level. For a more experienced pilot, then the Cub is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. You know, this, you're flying it basically. Everything that you're getting this plane to do, you're telling it to do. It is a forgiving plane, it is a high wing plane, you know, it's got a lot of stability built in, but it doesn't compare with, you know, the safe on the M7 MAULE. So anyway, I hope that can help people if they're thinking about which plane to buy. I hope this video helps. As I said, I'm lucky I own both, and you know, my advice to anybody would definitely buy both. Okay, thank you.